So I've been asked this question a few times on a few of my videos, and it's recently come back up again about focus. Now, apparently focus is still the strongest talent in the game for damage wise, but it's also a big question, which I do have videos on this, about how to keep focus going. But the major part is a named brand chest like the Araldi's one stronger than, say, a Fenris with focus on your chest piece? Now, I personally know the numbers will show that it's not for the Fenris, but we got to prove it. So let's show this in a video, and we'll show again how to prevent taking damage at the same time and keeping focus going more often so you can get more damage out of your build. So with this one, we really just have to come into the shooting range and show these types of damage numbers, so you'll see which one's the better.
I'm as gay as a $3 bill.
Yeah, I know everybody wants to see it out there in the open and say legendary and stuff like that, but since the build already works that way and we've already shown that, we don't need to. What we really just need to show is the damage numbers difference in these two types of chest pieces, and basically how to avoid taking damage so you can keep more damage going.
Hey!
So the constant question is still going to be, is the Araldi's chest piece with this right here more higher in damage than the other one? Well, we already have Foxes on for the rifle, so that's going to give this, because this is going to give 60% more to the rifle. But the big question is something like the Kingbreaker with a piece of Fenris right here, this focus talent better or not? Now, of course, one is 50, one is 60, so technically it should hit about the same, right? Because we have 10% for the AR plus the 50% here, versus the Araldi's is giving marksman rifle damage and 60%. So technically, just simple math alone, it should be the exact same, correct? If you think that, honest to God, you'd be wrong. So let's show how this is wrong, shall we? So as you can see, we've got the drone going out. So the drone is going to give us the pulse for the Kingbreaker. Now, what we're trying to do is first we have to show that we're stacking up the damage. Now, again, let me just go ahead and show that I have the Araldi's chest piece on. Now, this is the 60%, right? Now, again, just by simple math alone, people would think that the Araldi's and the Fenris chest piece should hit the same, because again, it's 10% plus 50 and 60% on the chest piece. Well, we're hitting for 492,311, and that's a max after we've got it fully stacked out, got a fresh new target. So let's swap that piece out. We'll put on this, because again, people think that it's 60% because you have 50 and 10 with the assault rifle. So we put on a piece of critical hit damage into the mod slot, just like we had with the other chest piece. And let's stack this one up. We'll go ahead and kill this target. Don't worry about these damage numbers. We're just trying to go for the next one after that. Now that we're fully stacked, 1475813. So I think that's a difference damage of about 18k, give or take a little bit. So yeah, we're already hitting more with the Araldi's.
Emotional damage.
So now that we've established that the Araldi's chest piece, the perfect focus, is actually going to give you the more damage, now it comes down to figuring out how to keep that damage going and to avoid taking damage with this type of build. So that way you can do the max potential damage at all times. So first up, there was a patch to focus, a silent patch which some people don't know about, and I've got to explain that later on in this part of the video. But we're going to show you what we're talking about. Now, as you can see, I'm zoomed in, I'm getting some stacks. As you can see down here, my focus is stacking up, and that's the key and critical part. We're trying to keep that focus stacked. Now, as you can see, I took away zoom, I zoom back in. I took away zoom, I zoom back in. It can keep going. So you can actually drop your weapon for a short period of time and re-aim and keep it going. But you have to know what the timer is. So you see it just cleared because I didn't zoom back in time. So it doesn't say that there's a timer when it says you're zoomed in. So there's actually a little piece on this where you can unzoom or drop your weapon and then re-zoom back in. Now, it doesn't matter what chest piece you prefer. So if we put on the Araldi's, we'd still get the same amount of damage. But here's the key and critical part. As you see, we're stacking this up. We're stacking this up. Once it gets fully maxed out and the Araldi's is good, here comes a big question. What if I were to switch to a different weapon? Right? Again, you can see I still have the same thing. I can still drop my weapon, re-aim back in, and I would be able to keep it. But again, what if I swap my weapons? Right? Now we have a I call it 45 times headshot, and here's a 45 times headshot. Although the scopes are a little bit different, that's what I call them. So what if I put on a different scope? Does that matter? So we're going to go to the Kingbreaker first. As you see, we're stacking up the focus. And I swap, and it changes. It reset. But I swap back to this one, and it doesn't. It keeps it going. So, on your secondary swap from one to the other, it will reset. Well, what if I had the same head scope damage on each weapon? Would it do this? This is where this got nerfed. As you can see, yes, I've got my rifle on. I swap to my Kingbreaker, my primary, it reset. But if I swap from my Kingbreaker right here, after I get it fully maxed out, and I swap to my M1A, it doesn't go away. But if I swap back to my Kingbreaker, it clears. So the nerf was actually to re-swapping to your weapon a third time. And this here has kind of got some people pissed. So, now that we've shown that you can actually keep that damage going, except for swapping to a weapon back for a third time, how do you avoid taking some damage and keeping things like your vigilance going against targets like this? At the same time, being able to stack your focus and keep it going. Well, it's simple. Put on a shield and do this. Yes, do some people think this is cheesy? Yes, it is. But hey, you want to keep the most damage going, right? This is how you do so. So you can see, we're not worried about what they have. We got the special stuff on. It's more or less showing that we can actually avoid damage. Now, if you see I poke out right here, they're going to be able to shoot at me. They can see me. They're going to shoot, and they hit my shield. But the vigilance isn't gone away either, right? Because they primarily shoot you in the shield. Now, doing this allows you to never take damage and actually still continuously do damage nonetheless. So is this beneficial? Most definitely. Do you want to use this? This is where it becomes yes or no. It's just a personal preference. Do you prefer to use it or not? Now, again, it doesn't matter if they're supposed to be fixing this maybe at some point where you have to actually come around this corner. It's in the Trello. So I would just suggest use this at the time, kind of get used to it until they do potentially patch this ability. Now, as you can see, I'm going to rush up here. As I can see, I'm still keeping my focus. Look at the bottom. You see my focus is still stacked. Why? Because I stop aiming and I re-aim. But look at this, ladies and gentlemen. They can still shoot me from right here. My shield is taking this damage. At the same time, I'm still able to shoot them. But my shield doesn't take as much damage. Why? Because I'm still behind a piece of cover. So even if the developers fix that one, I can still do this and it's still legit. You just have to find those types of things where you can shoot over the top of them rather than from the side. So this will still be a viable way to prevent damage and at the same time still do damage. So learn the best way to use this. Now, as you can see, this is what it looks like. They can still see my shield just a tiny bit, but they're going to shoot that before they shoot my head, and I can still keep vigilance going. And if you want to see more content like this, go ahead, like and subscribe, you know, do that kind of stuff. I don't really care, but I hope you like this video. Hope it helps you out.